Whether you're a pro basketballer or a tween fighting their way through 7th period gym class, you've probably had to shoot a free throw or two in your day. And odds are you did it wrong. Unless your name is Rick Barry, which it might be, because I feel like the YouTube algo would serve this kind of thing to Rick Barry. This is Rick Barry. His father was a semi-professional basketball player and coach, and when he was a kid, said dad had an unorthodox idea to help him sink more free throws. Rick, for his part, thought the technique looked pretty stupid, but took to it anyway. This is Canyon Barry. His father, the above Rick Barry, retired from the NBA in 1980 with the highest free throw percentage the league had ever seen. Canyon is the only of Rick's 5 basketballing sons to adopt that stupid-looking free throw technique. In his 2016-2017 college season, he sank 88.3% of his free throws. To put that in context, this is a bunch of basketball players you're more likely to have heard of, and their career best free throw percentages. None of them used the technique Rick and Canyon did, despite the fact that everyone, including me, knows it probably would have helped their game. So what gives? To find out what gives, I sent my outside correspondent Amy to shoot 200 free throws in the park. Now, she's not much of a jock, but she learned beef in gym class, so maybe this'll go okay. Also, to help her out, I made her learn a whole bunch of free throw physics. So here goes that. The free throw line is 15 feet, or 4.6 meters, from the hoop, which is 10 feet, or just over 3 meters, off the ground. From the moment the ball leaves your hands, it's pure physics. There's no defense, so only a gust of wind or an act of God can stop a good shot from going in. The key physical factors in a free throw are your alignment, how high above the floor you release it, how fast you throw it, its spin, and what angle you throw it at. In a perfect overhand free throw, you'd shoot straight at the hoop rather than off to one side or another. You're better off with a higher release height, hence the power of releasing above your head, doing a little jump, and/or being tall. Speed-wise, it's a Goldilocks situation. Too fast and you'll overshoot the basket, too slow and you'll look like a wimp. For spin, someone went ahead and figured out you want 3 hertz of backspin, which is to say, in the 1 second it takes for the ball to go from your hands to the hoop, it should spin towards you 3 times. This maximizes the likelihood that if it hits the rim, it'll slow down and then tip into the basket instead of bouncing away. Release angle is basically a trigonometry problem, and here's the gist. 32 degrees and below, bad, risky, don't do that. 56 degrees and above, too hard to aim. 90 degrees, ouchie, bad. The sweet spot is understood to be between 45 and 55 degrees, or more specifically, 45 degrees plus half the angle between the top of your hand and the rim. So if, hypothetically, you're a 5'5" YouTube writer with a genuinely shameful vertical jump, you're probably releasing the ball about 6 feet and 9 inches off the ground, meaning the angle between your hand and the hoop is 12.225 degrees, making your optimal launch angle 51.1125 degrees. Information which is fun to know, but very difficult to use. Because when it really comes down to it, a free throw isn't a math problem. It's a human activity, which makes it very screw-upable. Let the ball roll slightly on your hand as you throw it, misaim it a bit to the right, or forget to keep your elbow in, and you introduce a tiny bit of force on the ball that could throw it off course. A good free throw is neurologically complex, demanding tons of different motor functions working in perfect harmony to make one smooth motion. Just a bit of anxiety or imprecision can throw it all off, which is why so many basketball players have a little routine before they shoot a free throw. It helps your brain go through the motions more consistently. But those little tricks weren't enough for Rick Barry, or his dad, or his son. They realized there was an even better way to take some of that bodily variability out of the free throw: shooting underhanded. Yeah, heaving the ball up from between your legs like you're birthing it is actually really effective. You're holding the ball with 2 hands, and it's a relaxed position, so your elbows and wrists aren't so likely to get misaligned. You're just making a smooth, gentle pendulum motion, which, done right, should send the ball on a lovely arc up and then down into the hoop. That tall arc is key here. See, a hoop is wider than a basketball by about the length of the short side of a piece of computer paper. So if the ball is coming down straight at the hoop, it's got a good bit of room for error. The flatter that entry angle, the less forgiving the hoop is. So while that 51 and change degree angle is optimal for my writer shooting overhand, the underhand throw gives a higher angle, and with it, more forgiveness for small miss aims. To hear Rick Barry tell it, picking up the underhand technique is super easy. He says players he trained on it could get their free throw percentages into the 65 to 70% range with just a bit of practice. In the 1961-1962 season, all-time great Wilt Chamberlain actually gave it a go. For all his accomplishments, Chamberlain was notoriously bad at free throws. He was hovering just over 50% in his first 2 professional seasons, so in his third, he took to the underhand technique. And it went great! He finished the season having made over 61% of his free throws, more than he ever had before or ever would again. That was also the year he became the first and still only NBA player to score 100 points in a single game. And he did it, in no small part, by making 28 of the 32 free throw opportunities he was given. Underhand. Nevertheless, he reverted to the overhand shot after, and his stats got bad again. His worst season saw a 38% free throw percentage, and he retired having missed nearly half of all the free throws he took in his career. Leaving us all to wonder, why? You're a basketball player. You've learned a hack to get more points in basketball games. Why on earth wouldn't you use it? Wilt Chamberlain had the excuse of otherwise being one of the greatest players of all time, so I guess it's kind of whatever if his free throws are mid. But what about Rudy Gobert? What's his excuse? I've literally only heard of him because he licked all those microphones in March 2020, and now it turns out he doesn't even throw ball good? Not to coach from my couch, but get your act together, Rudy. Since Rick Barry retired, 3 guys have managed a better career percentage than him. Everyone else is worse. A lot of it comes down to how silly the underhand shot looks, the very same thing that made Rick Barry hesitate when his dad suggested it to him. This has been nicknamed the granny shot after all, and not a lot of ballers are trying to serve grandma on the court. In fact, many of them have characterized it as looking girly, which doesn't really make sense because women don't use it either. Shaq, one of the worst free throw shooters in NBA history, once told Rick Barry he'd rather shoot 0 than use the granny shot. But can we possibly put this all on aesthetics? Are generations of elite athletes eschewing an effective technique just because it looks kind of loserville? I mean, most of them have probably been training the overhand shot their entire lives, and if it ain't totally broke, why fix it? Switching to underhand might only marginally improve their game. And sure, those marginal points would probably add up handsomely over a career, but you know what they say about old habits. It's impossible to know every player's motives for not switching. Most of them don't get asked about it, and those that do tend to be hung up on the look. Here at Half as Interesting, all we have to go on is our field, or rather, court, research. I made Amy shoot 100 free throws each overhand and underhand, and here were her stats. Now, granted, the underhand shot is actually not that great for unskilled players because if you're not that good at aiming for the hoop already, the granny shot does make it harder. So the numbers here don't actually teach us much about the shot. But what I can tell you is that even though she knew, even though she wrote everything I just told you, and even though she's probably less worried about looking girly than your average NBA player, she still described being embarrassed every time one of those tweens on the adjacent courts or people in nearby cars saw her do the granny throw. And maybe that shame actually made her shooting worse? Who's to say? But just for fun, here she is missing a shot really badly. Okay, so Amy's stats are, as is tradition on HAI, useless to us. But how do we know that mathematically? That would be the unpaired 2-sample t-test she ran on her scores, which gave her this very high p-value and this 95% confidence interval, both of which, in stat terms, say that Amy's 200 free throws prove nothing significant about the overhand versus underhand techniques. But it's the same math they use to test drugs in clinical trials, or see which of my thumbnails y'all like better, and if you want to learn more about it, you should check out this video's sponsor, Brilliant.org. Brilliant.org is the best, most intuitive, least stressful way to learn more about math and science. Because even if you're not studying for finals or working in a STEM field, this stuff is part of all of our lives. I mean, in this video alone, we used hypothesis testing, trigonometry, and basic physics, all of which Brilliant.org offers courses on. And even if you're not hooping for content, you'll still be better off understanding how, say, large language models and other types of artificial intelligence work before they rise up and kill us all. The courses on Brilliant.org are genuinely great. They let you learn by doing and at your own pace, so you actually feel yourself getting smarter with every bite-sized little lesson. Even if you're like me and are used to math making you feel not smart at all. So why not give it a try, free for a full 30 days? Visit brilliant.org/HAI or click on the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription.